You fell. Good. It means you tried something real. Hear that? Good. Most people shuffle around the edges of their lives, afraid of the scrape, the bruise, the moment that proves they are human. You stepped into the ring. You took a swing. You tasted the floor. That first line, the hard, blunt truth, is your hook. It is the moment that wakes the part of you that still believes. Not because falling is glorious, but because falling is evidence. Evidence that you moved, that you risked, that you lived on purpose. If you want a life without scars, you will also live without the stories that make you human. Is that what you want? No. You want to stand back up and write a better chapter. Listen, resilience is not some rare genetic gift reserved for the few. It's a set of habits. It's a muscle you train. It's a refusal to allow a single event to define the shape of the rest of your life. Right now, read that sentence again and let it burn into you. A single event does not get to decide your fate. The news, the noise, the voices inside and outside, they will tell you otherwise. They will offer you a tidy narrative. You failed, you are broken, move along. That narrative is cheap. You don't buy it. Let's start with the most dangerous myth. Success equals never falling. That's a lie dressed in highlight reels and curated feeds. Look behind the scenes at anyone you call a hero, and you'll find a pile of failures, missteps, and days when they wanted to quit. The difference isn't the absence of failure, it's the presence of a relentless response. Some of the most compelling words in the history of achievement come from people who kept getting up. Napoleon Hill wrote that the most successful people often had the most dramatic setbacks before victory. Not because setbacks are required ritual, but because setbacks sharpen resolve. Remember that, and you begin to see a fall as training, not termination. Now, let me get practical fast, because talk without action is just noise. The first thing you do after a fall is the smallest thing: breathe. Seriously, most people rush to patch the damage with frantic thinking. Breathe. Slow the racing mind. The body follows the breath. The mind settles enough to let strategy in. Then ask two simple questions. What actually happened? And what did I learn? Do not, in that moment, reach for blame. Blame is a bandage that hides the wound. Replace blame with inquiry. You are collecting data about a future you haven't built yet. Make a short list, 3 bullets, of facts. Not feelings, facts. This helps you separate emotion from evidence. Feelings are valid. Treat them with respect, but they are not the map. Facts are the map. For example, fact 1, the product missed its deadline. Fact 2, the client changed scope last week. Fact 3, team ran out of bandwidth. Those are facts. Now ask, which of these can I influence next? Circle 1. Choose the smallest lever that moves you toward progress. Small is not small-minded. It's strategic. Small wins accumulate. Momentum is nothing mystical. It is arithmetic. You will want to speed up your healing with stories. Don't. You need a ritual. A ritual is not superstition. It's a deliberate practice that signals to your nervous system we are engaging the work. Mine is crude and effective. 10 minutes of writing, 20 push-ups, and 1 call to a person who knows how to hold you accountable. Yours should be simple and stickable. The point is to create a tiny, repeatable action that, when repeated, forms a new pathway in your brain. Habits are the plumbing of character. Right now, your plumbing got clogged. Your job is to unclog it, 1 small action at a time. Now, let's talk about shame and story. After a fall, your inner voice might narrate a catastrophe. I am a failure. I don't deserve success. Those narratives are not truth. They are rehearsed lines from fear. You must interrupt them. The technique is brutal and effective. When the voice says, I am a failure, you respond with evidence. I tried X, Y, Z. I learned A, B, C. I have succeeded in the past in these ways. You are not arguing with emotion. You are correcting it with reality. Takeaways rooted in facts beat feelings every time. Surroundings matter. If your environment is a museum of your failures, the same people who remind you of what you did wrong, the same posts, the same habits that led you here, then change the scenery. You do not need to burn bridges recklessly, but you do need to curate your proximity. People are vectors. They either add momentum or subtract it. Choose vectors that pull you forward. If you don't have those people, create the role. Be that person for someone else. Mentoring is not a luxury, it is medicine. Teach one small thing to someone learning the ropes. It astonishes the mind how quickly this rebuilds your confidence. Let's be clear. Resilience is aggressive. It is not a soft recovery. It's a disciplined assault on the forces that would keep you down. That means structure. Block time like a general. Plan your next 3 moves and execute with ruthless kindness to yourself. Decide what you will stop doing. Decide what you will double down on. The moment after a fall is fertile. Most people panic and scatter. You plant. Planting is boring, methodical, and with patience, inevitable. One strategy I want you to try now, not later, now, is the post-fall playbook. It has 4 steps and fits on a sticky note. Step 1, pause and breathe. Step 2, list 3 facts. Step 3, pick the smallest lever. Step 4, do 1 repetitive thing for 7 days. That's it. 7 days will prove whether it's a habit or a whim. At the end of 7 days, reassess with the same fact-based lens. If you did something right, double it. If it didn't move the needle, tweak and repeat. This is iterative resilience, not heroic improvisation. You will face external critics. Ignore the loudest voices until you have built enough work to answer them with results. People love advice. They hate accountability. Let them have opinions. You keep the work. The only audience that matters in the early rebound are the people who push you to make the next move and critique the craft, not your character. Seek actionable feedback, not pity or platitude. Before I close this part, a note about meaning. Falling is not random punishment. Often it is a signal, a nudge pointing to a mismatch between your identity and your actions. If you keep hitting the same wall, ask whether you are building the right thing with the right method for the right reason. Sometimes resilience is not about hanging on, it's about pivoting with courage. Pivot does not mean surrender, it means recalibration informed by data and dignity. Finally, here's your immediate assignment. Pick 1 small lever, something you can do in the next 24 hours, and commit to it out loud in the comments. Make it specific. I'll send the 3 follow-up emails, or I'll schedule 30 minutes of practice every day, or I'll call this one person to get feedback. Then do it. Momentum is not built on decisions, it's built on executed decisions. Execution rewires the mind and shrinks fear. Write in the comments right now what you will do in the next 24 hours to start rising. Be precise. I'll read and respond, yes, you, because real change begins with a named action. What fall taught you that you refuse to let define you? And what is the one tiny step you'll take next to prove it? Part 2. You are not broken because you fell. You are broken into a new shape, one that can be rebuilt stronger if you give it direction. This part is about the internal switches you can flip right now. Beliefs, inner dialogue, fear, and the simple muscle of making decisions. If part 1 was about the immediate rescue, part 2 is the intensive training camp. It's where you stop reacting and start reprogramming. First, beliefs run your life. Not circumstances, not talent, beliefs. The stories you tell yourself about what you can and cannot do become the architecture of your days. So the hard work is not primarily external, it's cognitive. You must update your operating system. That does not happen with a pep talk. It happens with repeated micro-evidence that contradicts the old story. If your belief is, "I fail at this," you must collect 3 truths that say otherwise. Maybe they are small. You finished a project last month. You learned a new skill. You kept a promise to someone. These small truths are not insignificant. They are the bricks of a new conviction. Here's a tool, the belief audit. Say the negative story out loud, the one that nags. I am not good enough. I always mess up. I'm not built for success. Then for each line, write 3 counter-evidences. It feels silly the first time, but repetition is the point. Over time, your mind will prefer the richer map. It'll notice details that support capability rather than catastrophe. That is not lying, it is calibrating. Dale Carnegie taught that what you feed your mind grows. Feed it facts that build your future. Next, the internal dialogue, the voice in your head, is the battlefield. It will be kind and it will be vicious. The vicious voice is clever. It recites your fears in a convincing tone. Treat it like an opponent, not a judge. Here's a practical exercise. Whenever the voice attacks, reply with a short, factual sentence that redirects attention to action. If it says, "You can't recover from this," you answer, "I can do one thing today that moves this forward." Keep the answer crisp and physical. Words that lead to motion crush rumination. Motion creates data. Data kills doubt. Fear is a teacher disguised as a tyrant. It shows up as the urge to hide, the desire to explain, the craving to avoid risk. Fear's job is not to stop you. Its primitive job is to protect you so you can live another day. The modern problem is fear runs the strategy meeting and writes the agenda. You must set new rules. Fear gets to have an opinion, but not the vote. The vote goes to action. A simple technique, naming fear. Say, "This is fear. Thank you, fear. I will act anyway." Naming reduces the amygdala's grip and gives your prefrontal cortex room. Do it in a whisper or in a journal. It works. Now, decisiveness is underrated. You've seen indecision masquerade as caution. The paradox, indecision often costs more than a wrong decision. A wrong decision can be corrected. Indecision compounds delay, doubt, and missed opportunities. Build a decision protocol. Limit your options, set a tiny trial, 3 days, 1 week, and move. Think of decisions like experiments, not verdicts. Experiments are forgiving. They invite iteration. Initiative is equally crucial. You cannot wait for permission to start rebuilding your life. Permission is an internal grant. Take it. Initiate one small sequence today. Send an email, record a short practice session, apply to one thing. Initiatives are like dominoes. The first push is the hardest, and then physics does the work. That first push is your responsibility and your power. There will be relapse. You will falter again. This is not failure, it is feedback. Set up simple guardrails for relapse. 1, a buddy you tell when you slip. 2, a short script you read when you feel the spiral. 3, a 24-hour rule. Do not make a major life decision in the first 24 hours after a major emotional setback. Emotions are a poor basis for long-term strategy. Use them to light the fire for immediate motion, but not to build the blueprint. Habits are the long game. If resilience is a muscle, habits are the gym. Prioritize 2 habits that directly relate to your recovery. 1 for clarity, daily reflection or planning, and 1 for energy, movement or sleep hygiene. Keep them tiny. The 2-minute rule works. Scale new habits down to something you can do in 2 minutes. Want to write daily? Start with 2 minutes of free writing. Want to train discipline? Do 2 minutes of disciplined action. Compound interest is boring but unstoppable. Your identity is the silent engine behind lasting change. If you act as someone who gets back up, you will begin to believe it. Identity is not an abstract sermon. It is a pattern of repeated acts. Choose the identity you want and then behave according to it in small ways. If your identity is a person who finishes, then you finish small things. If it is a person who learns, then you seek feedback and iterate. Identity beats motivation because motivation is fickle. Identity is consistent. Now, craft a resilience ritual you can use at low energy. This is not rocket science, it's structural. My ritual is simple. 5 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes to write one problem and one tiny next step, and a physical movement to change my state. Your ritual could be different, but it must be reliable and short. When the energy is gone, rituals carry you. They are the scaffolding for your future self. Let's talk about accountability. Public commitments amplify follow-through. Tell one trusted person about your next tiny step and arrange a time to report back. Social friction is a powerful force. If you have no one, use public micro-commitments. Post a short update, send a voice note, or use a community that expects results. Accountability is not shame, it's leverage. Use it. Practice gratitude in a focused way, not the bland count your blessings fluff, but targeted gratitude that reminds you of competence and progress. Each night, write down one thing you did that moved you forward, no matter how small. This habit rewires attention toward agency. The brain tunes to what you habitually notice. Don't forget to train joy. Recovery is not only about fixing damage, it's about rediscovering delight. Schedule one small pleasure every day. Pleasure isn't indulgence when you're rebuilding, it is fuel. Joy replenishes the reserves that resilience spends. Finally, make a concrete commitment. For the next 7 days, execute 2 tiny actions each day that relate to your recovery. One action promotes clarity, map, plan, ask, and one action promotes energy, move, rest, connect. Log them somewhere visible. At the end of 7 days, review facts, not feelings. Did you move forward? Good. Double down. Did you stall? Adjust. Now your task. Write in the comments one belief you will audit and change and the tiny action you will do in the next 24 hours to begin that change. Be specific. Name the belief and name the action. I will read them. This is not a polite request. It's an accountability lever. What single old belief will you stop feeding, and what is the first tiny proof you'll give yourself that a new belief can grow? Part 3. This is where the rubber meets the road. Talk is cheap. Skillful, repeated action is not. Part 3 is the workshop. Practical resilience turned into daily operations. If Part 1 got you breathing after the fall and Part 2 rewired your inner software, Part 3 teaches you how to build a system that keeps you moving even when the world conspires to push you down. Start by understanding one brutal fact. Recovery without structure is optional. People who recover on inspiration alone will be swept off course the minute life gets noisy. You need systems, predictable, simple, boring systems that do the heavy lifting for you. Systems reduce the number of heroic decisions you must make and create room for steady progress. Here are the systems you must build now. System 1. The immediate restart. Design one reproducible sequence you run within the first 48 hours after a setback. It's short, tactical, and always the same. Example, Step 1. 10 minutes of breathing and fact writing. Step 2. One prioritized to-do that moves the project forward. Step 3. One short message to a person who can help or hold you accountable. Keep it under 30 minutes. The immediate restart converts paralysis into momentum. Make it non-negotiable. System 2, the micro-experiment loop. Everything you do after a fall is an experiment. Treat it like that. Pick a hypothesis, pick a test, pick metrics. For instance, hypothesis: if I practice 20 minutes a day, my skill improves enough to land a client in 6 weeks. Test: 20-minute sessions, 5 days a week. Metric: number of practice sessions completed and measurable skill improvements, speed, accuracy, feedback. Run experiments for short windows, 7 to 14 days. Then review the metrics, adjust, repeat. The loop shrinks risk because experiments are designed to be low cost and highly informative. System 3, the energy bank. Your body is not a peripheral detail, it is the engine. After a fall, energy management is the most underrated form of strategy. Create a simple daily ritual: sleep window, 2 movement sessions, 1 light, 1 moderate, hydration, and a 20 to 30-minute block for focused nutrition. These are not indulgences. They are non-negotiable deposits in your ability to perform. When your energy is predictable, your decisions improve and your capacity for grit increases. System 4, the feedback circuit. Build a fast feedback loop for real, actionable input. Feedback is worthless if it's vague or disconnected from action. Ask for 3 things: 1 specific behavior to change, 1 resource to use, and 1 person with a perspective you trust. Then act on 1 piece of feedback and report back. The act of reporting turns advice into iteration. Feedback without follow-through is entertainment. Feedback with follow-through is development. System 5, the relapse plan. Expect dips. Map them. Create a short, pre-agreed plan for what happens when you start sliding: who you call, what you do, what you stop. Humans are excellent at optimism and terrible at planning for relapse. Make relapse boring. When it happens, you execute the plan, record the facts, and re-enter the micro-experiment loop. This removes drama and preserves dignity. Now let's get tactical about habits. Habits win long games, but not all habits are equal. Prioritize what I call the high leverage habits. 3 small daily rituals that impact clarity, energy, and skill. Example set: 1, morning clarity 10-minute write-up. What's the most important move today? 2, midday movement 15 to 20 minutes. 3, evening micro review, 2 things that moved you forward and 1 tiny tweak for tomorrow. Keep them under 10 minutes each. Keep them sacred. Over weeks, these tiny rituals compound into a different life. Use tools that reduce friction. Automation is not just for tech, it's for resilience. Calendar blocks become commitments. Templates reduce decision fatigue. Simple checklists prevent repetitive mistakes. If you fall because of poor process, fix the process. Don't rely on memory or heroics. Build scaffolding. Next, the environment audit. Your immediate environment either protects or sabotages your recovery. Scan it like a detective. Which items, apps, people, and routines make relapse more likely? Remove or limit the most toxic 3. Replace them with 3 constructive inputs: a book, a focused playlist, and 1 person who will call you out. Environmental change is often faster than internal change because it alters the default behavior the moment you wake up. Let's talk skill architecture. Resilience is not just emotional, it's tactical competence. If you failed in a business project, get deliberate about the 1 skill that would most reduce the chance of repeating the failure. Break that skill into micro skills. Train the smallest useful micro skill daily. If you failed at communication, practice clear 1-sentence summaries every day. If you failed at product timing, practice sprint planning in 15-minute blocks. Micro skills accumulate into durable capability. Now here's a practical framework I use with people rebuilding after setbacks: the 3x3 recovery grid. Draw a grid with 3 rows and 3 columns. Across the top, label immediate, 0 to 48 hours, short, 3 to 14 days, medium, 30 to 90 days. Down the side, label actions, skills, people. Fill the 9 cells with tiny, measurable items. For example, immediate actions might be restart ritual. Short skills might be basic negotiation template. Medium people might be build advisory group of 3. The act of filling the grid forces clarity and creates a roadmap you can follow when emotion clouds judgment. Accountability systems must be simple and public. Private intentions are fragile. If you can, announce one measurable target publicly. Not a vague promise, a measurable commit. I will complete 10 practice sessions in the next 14 days and post completion screenshots. Public micro-commitments make slippage costly and focus inevitable. Resilience also requires strategic patience. That phrase sounds like an oxymoron. Patience with urgency. But the people who last understand how to be both urgent in action and patient in expectation. You move with speed on the day-to-day, and you manage expectations across months. Set process metrics for weeks and outcomes for months. Celebrate the process wins. They are the only thing you can reliably control. There will be days when nothing seems to work. When those days arrive, shrink the ask further. 2 minutes of focused work beats grand paralysis. Tide yourself through low-energy periods with the 2-minute rule, the 1-call rule, make 1 meaningful call, and the 1-page rule, write a 1-page plan, then act. These tiny actions are leverage points when everything feels heavy. Now reflect. What systems are missing in your life right now? Which one tiny system can you implement today? Don't overcomplicate. Pick one. The immediate restart, the micro-experiment loop, the energy bank, the feedback circuit, or the relapse cran. Implement it and report back. Systems are the unseen architecture of high performers. Before I end this part, a quick story. A person I worked with lost a major client and began to spiral. We built a micro-experiment loop focused on outreach and a tiny skill. One 90-second pitch practiced every morning. Within 3 weeks, not only did they land a smaller client, but their confidence returned because they had measurable data, practice sessions completed, and responsive prospects. The change was not mystical, it was systematic. The person moved from reaction to design. Your task for this segment: pick one system from the list above and describe, in the comments, the exact first 3 micro steps you'll take to install it this week. Be precise, name the system, and list 3 tiny actions you will execute in the next 72 hours. This is not fluff, it's your operating manual. Which system will you choose, and what are steps 1, 2, and 3? Part 4. When the world rips the map out from under you, the only reliable territory left is inside your skin. This part is about the internal resources you already own, your emotions, your body, your energy, and how to assemble them into a living toolset that brings you back faster and leaves you tougher. If the earlier parts were rescue and repair, this is renovation. Rebuilding your inner architecture so future falls bend you, not break you. Start with one blunt fact. Your body leads your mind more than your mind leads your body. Posture, breathing, movement, these are not cosmetic. They change chemistry, clarity, and courage. When you slump, your brain reads that as defeat. When you straighten your spine, breathe full lungs, and place your feet planted, your nervous system shifts. Try this now when you hear this. Stand up, square your shoulders, inhale deeply for 4 counts, hold 2, exhale for 6. Do it 3 times. That physical ritual flips a switch from contraction to readiness. Habitualize it. Call it the align and act. Use it before any micro-action, a call, a pitch, a step toward repair. Emotions are information, not destiny. Shame, anger, grief, disappointment, they arrive like weather. You don't have to build your house out of them. First step, name the feeling. Naming lowers its intensity because language engages your prefrontal cortex. Say, this is anger, this is grief. Then allocate a function to each emotion. Anger can be a motor. Channel it into short bursts of productive work. Grief can be a teacher. Treat it with ritual, writing, a small memorial, and then put it in the past file. Avoid the trap of long-term emotional residency. Use emotions for a season. Do not let them take your address. Energy is the currency of resilience. Most people treat energy like a byproduct. They burn it fast and expect miracles. Instead, treat it like capital. Budget for it. Build a simple energy budget. List your top 3 energy drains and top 3 energy builders. Drains might be scrolling, toxic people, chaotic scheduling. Builders might be solid sleep, a 20-minute walk, and a short midday reset. For 3 days, track your energy in 3 slots: morning, mid, evening. Note the activities that shift your numbers. You will begin to see patterns. Once you see the patterns, you can choose non-negotiable deposits: sleep window, movement, and a short midday reset. Confidence is not a mythical aura. It is accumulated evidence. You grow it with 2 forces: small victories and visible competence. Small victories are the micro-commitments you actually complete. Visible competence is the demonstration of skill in public, no matter how small. So, design for both. Every morning, list 1 micro-task that you will finish before lunch. Finish it. That micro-task is a victory you can hold like a stone in your pocket. Next, show your work to someone. A short voice note, a draft, a 1-minute video. The combination of completing and displaying creates a loop that rewires belief into identity. Your subconscious is your silent co-conspirator. It learns from repetition, imagery, and the stories you run at night. Use it. Create a nightly visualization of the person you will be after you rise from this fall. The technique: 5 minutes before sleep, lie still and run a sensory-rich short movie of tomorrow where you perform 1 key action with calm focus. See the room, hear the sounds, feel the movement. The subconscious doesn't debate logic, it learns from rehearsal. When you visualize a good action repeatedly, your nervous system primes itself to enact that action in waking life. Earl Nightingale and others spoke to the power of persistent thought. This is how you operationalize it. Language matters. The words you use to describe yourself become pillars in your inner house. Replace vague self-critique with precise, future-oriented phrasing. Instead of "I failed," say, "This attempt didn't land. I will use what I learned to try a new approach." Instead of "I'm stuck," say, "I'm in phase 1 of iteration." Tiny shifts in grammar change your perceived agency and unlock options your old language closed. Identity anchors are the real secret. Declare a short, specific identity line you will live into for a week. Not a sermon, an action line. Examples: I am someone who finishes the small things I start. Or, I am someone who practices clarity before comment. Say it out loud each morning and perform 1 concrete act that proves it. Identity is not a belief you hope for. It is behavior you repeat until your brain files you under the new label. Rituals beat motivation when you are low. Build pocket rituals for different intensities: low, medium, high. Low energy ritual, 2 to 5 minutes. Alignment breath, 2-minute rite of one next step, and a posture reset. Medium energy ritual, 10 to 20 minutes. 5 minutes of visualization, 10 minutes of focused practice, one quick check-in with a teammate or mentor. High energy ritual, 30 plus minutes. A deep planning session, physical training, and a dedicated creative block. Pack these rituals into your toolkit and pull the appropriate one when energy levels change. Use what I call the confidence ledger. Each night, write down 3 things you did that proved you're still competent. They can be tiny. Answered an email, practiced a line, took a cold shower. Over time, the ledger becomes an archive of proof you can open when doubt floods in. Proof beats rhetoric. Keep the ledger visible and review it when you feel small. Sensory anchors speed recovery. Attach a simple physical anchor to a recovery state. It could be a hand on your heart, a certain scent, a particular playlist, or a bracelet you touch when you need to center. Condition it by pairing the anchor with a short alignment ritual repeatedly. After a few repetitions, the anchor will trigger a shift in state. Use anchors strategically before difficult conversations, presentations, or moments when your past self would have frozen. Sleep is not optional scaffolding, it is central. Your brain consolidates learning and resets emotion during sleep. Invest in a sleep routine. Wind down signals, blue light off, low stimulation activity, a short gratitude or learning log, and a consistent wake time. If you cannot get 8 hours, get consistent hours. The rhythm matters more than the total sometimes. Good sleep amplifies every other resource. Now, practical micro toolbox you can start using today. The 60-second reframe. When a self-defeating thought hits, stop and ask, is this thought useful? If no, replace with an action word. Act, ask, try. Do one tiny action within 60 seconds. The 5-minute clear-out. Set a timer for 5 minutes and list every friction point related to your setback. Stop when the timer rings. Pick the top friction and remove it by doing one small thing. The mirror reset. Stand, look yourself in the eyes, say, I will do one brave thing today, and smile for 10 seconds. It's absurdly effective. The 2-minute skill. Pick one micro skill and do it 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes is defensible. 2 minutes accumulates into competence. The if-then anchor. Pre-plan a response to common relapse triggers. If I start scrolling for more than 5 minutes, then I will stand and walk for 3 minutes. Make conditional rules to bypass decision fatigue. Resilience is also social architecture. Cultivate at least one relationship that functions as an honest mirror. Someone who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and who will hold you to the next step. This person need not be famous or skilled. They need to be consistent. Exchange a small accountability ritual with them. A weekly check-in, one voice note, a shared tracker. Consistency matters more than intensity. Finally, frame your fall as a seedbed. There's an alchemy in wounds. The right actions turn pain into insight, and insight into power. You cannot control every external variable, but you can control what you collect from the experience and the rituals you choose to practice. That is how people become unshakable, not by never falling, but by deliberately learning how to assemble themselves afterward. Now, your action. In the comments, write the one ritual you will use to gather yourself after a fall, and the exact sensory anchor you'll pair it with. A word, a playlist, a hand on heart, a scent. Be specific. Also answer this. When you look back at your last fall, what inner strength surprised you most about yourself? Share it. Naming it helps it grow. This is the summit push. All the breathing, the tiny habits, the systems, the rituals, they point to one truth. Falling is not the end. It's the input. The final act is to turn that input into acceleration. You're not just rising to the same level you had before the fall, you're building a new launch pad under your feet. This part is about converting pain into leverage, mistakes into momentum, and setbacks into the raw material of breakout growth. First, change your time horizon. Most people measure recovery in days or weeks and feel despair when progress is slow. You must operate on two clocks, the hour-by-hour clock for daily habits, and the long arc clock for identity formation. The hour-by-hour keeps you honest. The long arc keeps you sane. Commit to both. Set daily, non-negotiable micro-actions and a 6-month identity goal. The micro-actions buy you evidence. The identity goal gives you a North Star. For example, micro-action, 20 minutes of focused practice each day. Identity goal, I am someone who ships. In 6 months, you won't be the person who fell. You'll be the person who consistently rebuilt. Second, make failure your curriculum. I mean this literally. Treat each setback as a module in your education. Break it down, what failed, why it failed, and which micro-skill would have prevented it. Then prioritize learning that micro-skill. Napoleon Hill and others argued that failures teach more than victories because they reveal gaps you can close. Don't skim those gaps. Study them, train the parts of you that were exposed, and document the improvement. Use the 30-90-day micro-skill sprint. Pick one micro-skill, practice it daily, log progress, and measure impact on the original problem. This is how raw error becomes refined strength. Third, architect a resilience portfolio. Just as investors diversify risk, you must diversify your resilience. Your portfolio contains at least 3 categories: capability, skills and systems, relationships, mentors, peers, and accountability, and health, sleep, movement, nutrition. Don't overload one category and neglect the others. A healthy body amplifies mental toughness. Reliable relationships multiply ideas and opportunities. Real capability reduces the chance of repeat failure. Audit your portfolio. If one leg is weak, make it explicit and schedule a fix. Small rebalances compound. Fourth, embrace deliberate exposure. Resilience grows with calibrated stress. Don't numb yourself to risk. Instead, reintroduce it with intention. Create a calendar of small, controlled challenges that push your edge. A difficult conversation, a cold outreach, a live demo, a short public test. These exposures strengthen neural circuits for handling pressure and reduce the terror of the unknown. Start small and scale. The nervous system learns by practice, not by avoidance. Fifth, make narrative your tool. Humans are storytellers. You will tell a story about this fall whether you curate it or not. Choose to narrate it as a rise story, not a tragedy. Frame it in 3 acts: what happened, what you learned, how you pivoted. Keep the narrative crisp and public. Telling your story reclaims agency. It transforms shame into strategy. When you speak about what happened, you also instruct others on how to handle it. That's power. Sixth, institutionalize feedback loops that convert attempts into learning. After any attempt, call, meeting, launch, run a 5-minute debrief. What worked, what didn't, one tweak for next time. Record it. Over time, you build a library of micro-adjustments that compound into mastery. The people who bounce forward fastest are not luckier. They are better at extracting learning from the field. Make learning faster than failure's churn. Seventh, expand your runway with micro wins that also create value. One of the most practical ways to recover is to produce something useful, however small. A 15-minute video, a short article, a checklist, an MVP that solves one user problem. These are not ego projects, they're leverage. They produce feedback, visibility, and small cash or connections that lengthen your runway. Choose projects that are reversibly small and directly tied to your goals. Eighth, invest in other people. Nothing accelerates your recovery like helping someone else rise. Coaching, mentoring, or simply sharing a practical tip forces you to clarify your thinking and remember that you have actionable competence to offer. It is a paradox. Your best medicine is often service. When you teach, you consolidate. When you support, you gain perspective. When you lift others, you lift yourself. Ninth, normalize multiple restarts. The world will not bend to a single narrative of success. Your path will be messy. Normalize the act of starting again. Give yourself a restart ritual. You already practiced it earlier, and use it without drama. The less drama you add, the quicker you re-enter competition. People with long careers are survivors of many restarts. They treat restarts as inevitable and unemotional. Learn from them. 10th, hold a long-term experiment, the 90-day rebound sprint. Commit to one meaningful, measurable goal you can move toward in 90 days. Break the 90 days into 3 30-day sprints. Each 30-day sprint has a focused micro skill, a daily habit, and a public accountability point. Track weekly metrics, celebrate process wins every Sunday. At the end of 90 days, measure impact. This framework converts despair into a project and gives you measurable momentum to point back at when doubt creeps in. 11th, protect your curiosity. Falling often triggers defensive thinking, blame, narrowing, rigidity. Curiosity is the antidote. Ask better questions. What small experiment could prove or disprove my theory? Who sees this differently and why? Curiosity keeps your brain from turning errors into identity traps. It makes you a scientist of your own life. 12th, build a small circle of truth. A truth circle is 3 to 5 people who know your aim, will tell you the uncomfortable truth, and will celebrate micro progress. Meet regularly, exchange tangible tasks and evidence. This circle becomes your real scoreboard. They will also be where you turn for velocity, introductions, critiques, and real advice. Now, a practical micro plan you can implement in the next 72 hours that synthesizes everything above. Write a 1-paragraph rise story that frames your last fall as an input. Keep it factual and future-focused. Post it or send it to one person in your truth circle. Choose one micro skill that would have prevented the fall or reduced its harm. Commit 2 minutes a day to practice it for 30 days. Log progress. Schedule one small exposure this week that stretches you. A short call, a live test, a pitch. Debrief for 5 minutes afterward and log one tweak. Do these 3 steps and you create a feedback spiral that turns pain into progress. You are built from the same raw materials as those who recover and rise. The difference is practice, not destiny. You will fall again, that is true, but you will also get better at rising. The question is not whether you will fall. The question is what you will do when you hit the ground. Write in the comments the one failure you will turn into your launchpad and the exact first micro step you will take next. Be specific. State it like a promise to yourself. I will read them and respond. If this message landed, if you feel a tiny spark, act on it. Take the smallest actionable step right now. If you found value in this video and want more practical rebuilds, subscribe and hit like.